to an air conditioner over you. It's saving.
We're just looking right into the, we just look at you when we answer that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our regular programming to bring you this message from the Governor of Alabama, Governor Fob James.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take a few minutes of your time and give you a report on our Gulf Coast since Hurricane Frederick hit there 1 week and 1 day ago. Number one, let me say we're thankful to the good Lord that after the devastating hurricane came right up Mobile Bay, that the loss of life was held to an absolute minimum. 1 or 2 or 3 lives is too many, but I know and everybody knows it could have been numbered in the hundreds. We got a tremendous evacuation down there, and the people we need to thank for that are, number one, the citizens of Baldwin County and Mobile County and their local leadership. As the warnings were coming in, sometimes at a late hour, they got their citizenship out, and for that reason, we were able to minimize the loss of life. But the damage to homes, to public facilities, is measured in the billions of dollars. And when a disaster of this magnitude occurs, the first thing we must do is secure the area to keep looters away from homes and stores, and I think that has been done. I want to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to local law enforcement in the stricken areas and to our state troopers and to our National Guard for working around the clock for over a week now to secure all of those areas, and that has been done. Then we're out of power, no electricity to run our refrigerators, and we have hundreds of miles of power line to restore. And I want to say that the Alabama Power Company and the men and women that work for the Alabama Power Company have probably done the greatest job that's ever been done after any disaster in restoring power. And we believe in these areas that early next week that power will be restored up to perhaps as much as 80%. And this is all part of it. And I would absolutely be remiss if I don't mention again the will of the individual citizen of Baldwin and Mobile County to look after themselves and get their community back in full operations again. But in the course of this week, we are running out of food because we have no refrigeration there. And the people throughout of Alabama have been very generous. But I'd like to take this opportunity to ask you throughout Alabama, starting tonight, to band together, organize, and give us food to send to Mobile and Baldwin counties because we need it desperately. Your National Guard Armory is now open. It will be open until 10 o'clock tonight. It will be open tomorrow from 7 to 6 and Saturday until noon. I ask that you take food there, civic clubs, churches, neighborhood groups, food that will not ruin, canned food, meats, tuna fish, salmon, canned milk, dried mix, canned vegetables. You know what I'm talking about. Food that you can store and keep and distribute without refrigeration. And we need something else, charcoal and charcoal lighter, crackers and bread, these kind of rations. People of Alabama have always responded when their neighbors were in need. People of Mobile and Baldwin counties are doing everything they can to help themselves, as is their government. But we need food there desperately. So I make an appeal to you tonight, wherever you are in this great state, call and go to your nearest National Guard armory and bring us food that you have in your pantry. I ask you to start tonight. I thank you very much.
You have just heard from about the Mobile situation. Stay tuned to For the Record.
This is For the Record, Special Edition. Now, Tracy Larkin.
Fury, which was unleashed a few days ago by Hurricane Frederick in the Gulf Coast area of the state of Alabama, carrying winds up to 145 miles per hour. Frederick dumped more than 8 inches of rain in the Gulf Coast area, has caused an estimated $1.25 billion in property damage. More than 100,000 persons in that area were evacuated from their homes, most of whom who have by now returned to find their homes and prized possessions either in disarray or completely destroyed. Federal assistance centers have been set up in several towns following an emergency visit from President Jimmy Carter. The situation has not progressed much beyond its crisis situation of a few days ago. The food situation is still especially crucial. To discuss these problems tonight on this special edition of For the Record is the Governor of the state of Alabama, the Honorable Bob James, the Honorable Gary Cooper, who is Commissioner of the Department of Pensions and Security, and General Henry Cobb, who is Adjutant General for the National Guard. We'd like to welcome all our distinguished guests to our special edition of For the Record.
Thank you.
Governor, Commissioner Cooper, General Cobb, the unpredictableness of this kind of phenomena in the natural order of things usually catches most of us unawares. Were we caught unawares in the state of Alabama by the devastation of Hurricane Frederick in the Gulf Coast area last week? Were we prepared to deal with this situation?
Tracy, I don't think you ever really prepared in the full sense of the word. I think the minimal loss of life speaks very well for the people of the coastal area and for their local officials, the mayors, the city councilmen, sheriff, and county commissioners, because we had a tremendous evacuation. And that is what prevented very heavy loss of life. And as we said earlier, from that time, the state troopers, the National Guard moved in, and we've had practically no looting, just a few isolated incidences. And not only the National Guard and the state troopers, but our civil defense people, Conservation Department, Pensions and Security, working with the federal government to man these distribution centers, aid centers, the Highway Department. So there was an excellent reaction, as well as the Alabama Power Company and the municipal forces of Mobile and Foley and Fairhope and all of those towns down there, and in Clark and Washington County too, and the individual citizens themselves just fought back. And that has turned it around, and we are beginning to come out of this thing. As I mentioned earlier, we need food, and I just a few minutes ago made an appeal throughout Alabama to get food to Mobile, because there's been no refrigeration there now for almost 8 days. And I asked folks to if they would, take food, non-perishable items, canned goods, bread, charcoal for cooking, all of that sort of business, to their local armory. And I want to make 1 or 2 corrections to that here, if I can, on this program. In Goodwater, rather than taking the food to the armory, to the police headquarters. They are equipped to handle it in Goodwater, and in Berry and Dora, Alabama, to the City Hall. Outside of those 3 exceptions, to the National Guard. And the generosity of the people of Alabama in helping the folks in the stricken areas has been outstanding, and I'm sure this will follow through the weekend. And we are set up with Commissioner Cooper here and the Guard to receive the food, transport it down to Mobile, and then the Commissioner's forces will see that it is distributed out to the population. However, in this transportation from the armories down to Mobile. I'd like to say to the trucking industry and the hundreds of great independent truckers that we have in this state, if you can make a run for us, or would like to make a run for us tomorrow, if you'll call the National Guard Armory, we sure could use a few 18-wheelers to make some of these runs. We're prepared to do it with Army equipment, but it's a little bit slower than our regular commercial 18-wheelers. So I would like to make that request to independent truckers and to the trucking industry. If you can make one or two runs from your hometown down to Mobile, it would be very helpful.
Commissioner Cooper, how does your department figure in the assistance, the emergency assistance that's going on now?
We're working primarily in two areas. Probably the largest going now is our food stamp effort. And we also are taking applications now in the disaster centers for individual grants. These are grants up to $5,000 that we can use to help people make emergency repairs and to replace personal property items that are really essential to their good health. Our food stamp program is going full steam. We have moved over 100 workers from other counties into Mobile, Baldwin, and Washington County, and we hope tomorrow to get another 50 or 60 people there. But even with this great effort, the lines are so long that many people are just not able to get served yet, and therein lies our problem.
Someone asked a question earlier, the effectiveness of distributing food stamps if there is a problem in the Mobile area with grocery items and visiting grocery stores or whatever. What good then are the food stamps?
Well, many stores are open, and people can use them to go and buy on a daily basis. You see, with no refrigeration, with electricity out for 7 or 8 days, people need to buy on a daily basis in order to do it. And many people have not worked or have not gotten paychecks over a period of time. Many businesses are still closed. So the food stamps are pretty essential to ensure good nutrition and basically just to feed hungry people.
All right, I'd like to remind our viewers, our Governor, Commissioner, and General, that across your screen you will from time to time see telephone numbers and locations of certain centers throughout the state of Alabama. Throughout this program tonight, we will be bringing you those telephone numbers and those locations of those centers, which